What if everything you know about human history is a lie? What if the rise of agriculture, the birth of writing, the first cities, all of it is just the latest chapter in a story that's been told 6 times before? Imagine this. Humanity didn't rise once. It rose 7 times. And 6 times it was erased so completely that barely any memory survived. The evidence is everywhere. Monumental architecture appearing fully formed with no prototypes, no evolution, no training period. Ancient calendars predicting celestial cycles with uncanny accuracy. Megaliths aligned with stars as if built by people who had watched the sky for thousands of years. But according to the official story, these builders were barely out of the Stone Age. In the deserts, ruins stand with no culture to claim them. In the mountains, stones are cut with impossible precision. Beneath the oceans, cities lie arranged in perfect geometry. And under layers of earth older than civilization, objects appear that should not exist at all. What could erase an entire civilization so completely that not even its name survives? Fire alone cannot do it. Floods alone cannot do it. Ice cannot do it. But a sequence of all 3, a world reset triggered by forces older than humanity, can. It has happened before. Not once, not twice, but 6 times. And we are the 7th civilization, standing on the ruins of ages that rose higher than we dare imagine. I'm the ancientologist, and I spend my time uncovering the parts of history they don't teach in school. Today, we're investigating the forbidden evidence that human civilization is cyclical, examining the proof that 6 advanced cultures existed before us, and exploring what this means for our future. Hit subscribe, because what you're about to discover will rewrite everything you know about human history. 1. The anomalies. Evidence that doesn't fit. Let's start with the evidence that refuses to cooperate with the official timeline. Because buried beneath our world are objects that should not exist. Out of nowhere, monumental architecture appears fully formed. The Great Pyramid of Giza, Sacsayhuaman in Peru, Teotihuacan in Mexico, Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. No prototypes, no evolution, no learning curve. Just perfect engineering dropped into the timeline. The alignment to true north at Giza. The ratio of its dimensions encoding pi and phi. The geometry in its internal passages implying mathematical sophistication that should not have existed when it was supposedly built. These aren't gradual achievements. They're the work of people who already knew what they were doing. At Sacsayhuaman, giant stone walls interlock with no mortar, no gaps, and no consistent block size. Each stone is unique, shaped to fit precisely with its neighbors. Modern laser mapping cannot fully explain the method used. The Incas themselves claimed they didn't build the foundation. They inherited it. Then, there are the out-of-place artifacts. Metal cubes and gears found sealed inside ancient rock. Some discovered in coal seams hundreds of millions of years old. Coal forms slowly under pressure from plants that lived long before humans existed. Yet workers have pulled out metallic objects with flat surfaces and machined edges. No natural force creates perfect symmetry. No geological pressure forms right angles. Someone made them. Tools encased in stone. Hammers with iron heads of impossible purity, found locked inside Cretaceous limestone. Brass cups embedded in geodes that took millions of years to form. Components trapped in volcanic ash, hundreds of thousands of years older than our species. These aren't errors of dating. The surrounding material is dated by multiple unrelated methods. The geological context is clear. The objects don't belong where they're found. When the pattern repeats across continents and time periods, when metallurgical analysis reveals alloys too advanced for their supposed age, And when entire reports vanish from public records, coincidence becomes impossible to believe. This pattern grows sharper when we look beneath the oceans. Sonar readings reveal perfect linear grids underwater where no civilization should have been. Divers discover blocks fitted with precision, stone terraces arranged in geometric patterns, and channels carved as if by machines. Nature does not carve 90-degree intersections across mile-wide platforms. Nature does not shape harbor walls aligned to astronomical markers. The Earth remembers in fragments, remnants from a world erased, but traces strong enough to survive tens of thousands of years. 2. The flood stories. Memory, written in myth. Across every continent and every surviving ancient tradition, there is a memory that refuses to fade. Long before written history, people spoke of a time when the world changed suddenly and without mercy. They described years when the sun dimmed, when storms arrived without warning, and when the oceans rose to swallow everything familiar. These stories shouldn't be identical. They come from cultures divided by languages, oceans, and thousands of years. Yet the details align with unnerving precision. In the highlands of Peru, legends recall a season of darkness so complete that people could not see their own hands. In Australia, the oldest oral traditions speak of burning rain. In Sumerian tablets, the world ends in a flood so massive it erases cities. In the Pacific Islands, chants describe the ocean rising up like an animal. Norse sagas echo a long winter that felt like death itself. For centuries, scholars called these tales metaphors. But geology tells a different story. Ice cores from Antarctica and Greenland contain thin black layers of ash at nearly the same depth, marking when volcanic eruptions blanketed the sky. The climate shifted in a geological instant. Temperatures fell, light dimmed, species vanished. Then glaciers collapsed, and oceans surged upward with terrifying speed. The Younger Dryas event, the Toba eruption, sudden meltwater pulses, impact winters. Each left their fingerprints in stone and sediment. They also left their imprint in human memory. When cultures that never met describe the same catastrophe, when they speak of cities lost beneath the waves and a darkness that lasted years, it becomes difficult to dismiss all of it as imagination. The most chilling element is how suddenly the world changed. There's no slow decline in the layers of sediment. Instead, there are abrupt transitions. One layer holds evidence of a stable world. The next layer contains signs of fire, flood, or catastrophic cooling. More unsettling still are the descriptions of cities submerged beneath the sea, temples swallowed overnight, towers lost to waves, entire cultures gone without a trace. For most of history, these accounts were dismissed as exaggeration. But as sonar mapping improves, more structures emerge from the shadows. Stone platforms, staircases, walls lying exactly where the old stories said the oceans consumed them. 3. The drowned cities. Proof beneath the waves. If the great floods were powerful enough to sweep entire civilizations from the surface, then the first place we should expect to find their remnants is beneath the oceans. Coastlines have shifted dramatically over the last 100,000 years. Entire continental shelves that once held cities now lie beneath hundreds of feet of water. And when we look down into those drowned worlds, what we find doesn't resemble nature. Across the Pacific and Indian Ocean, structures rise from the seafloor like ghosts of forgotten cities. Terraces cut with straight lines. Stone blocks fitted so precisely that a knife blade cannot slide between them. Staircases descending into darkness, all sitting in places that were once dry land. Off the coast of Japan, near Yonaguni Island, divers have traced a structure that appears to be collapsed sandstone. But nature does not carve symmetrical terraces. Nature does not create parallel steps, rising with measured precision. Nature does not produce pyramid-shaped platforms aligned to cardinal directions. The deeper divers go, the more it behaves like architecture. Wide boulevards, carved drainage channels, massive retaining walls, features indicating planning, engineering, and purpose. Across the Indian Ocean lies Dwarka, the sunken city described in ancient Sanskrit texts. For generations dismissed as legend, sonar teams discovered a grid of walls and foundations 5 meters wide. Carved stone columns lie toppled across the seabed. The geometry matches descriptions written thousands of years ago. Ancient writers spoke of a port city that vanished beneath the sea in a single night. It wasn't a metaphor, it was a memory. On the Sunda Shelf, between Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand, sonar reveals straight channels and rectangular depressions too perfect to be natural. These features lie in waters that would have been fertile ground before the last ice age melted. What makes this compelling is how closely the locations match flood stories from dozens of cultures. Indigenous Australians speak of coastal lands swallowed by rising seas. Polynesian navigators recount island chains that vanished. These stories aren't metaphoric invention. They're historical memory stretched across thousands of years. 4. The 6 Lost Civilizations, Tracing the Pattern. If the monuments that still stand are echoes of something older, then the civilizations that built the originals must have risen and fallen long before recorded history. The first forgotten civilization appears in Southeast Asia when the Sunda Shelf formed a vast landmass connecting Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand. This region, now underwater, contains evidence of ancient river systems and fertile plains. Geologists estimate tens of millions could have lived there before rising seas consumed the land. Another civilization thrived in what is now the Sahara Desert, back when it was a green expanse filled with lakes and rivers. Ancient rock art depicts boats, cattle, and organized societies. Beneath the sands, radar scanning reveals geometric shapes and buried structures, hinting at large settlements. Far to the north, Beringia, the region between Siberia and Alaska, was a temperate grassland during the last ice age, supporting vast herds and human populations. When sea levels rose, the entire region vanished beneath the Bering Strait, leaving only scattered genetic hints. In the Indus Valley, ruins like Mohenjo-Daro show signs of advanced urban culture that appeared almost fully formed. Grid layouts, drainage systems, uniform bricks, and standardized weights suggest a civilization inheriting knowledge rather than inventing it. Across the Mediterranean, islands contain ruins so old they defy placement on the accepted timeline. Stonework resembles sites thousands of miles away, suggesting a maritime culture with far-reaching influence. The sixth civilization may have risen in the Amazon basin. Beneath the canopy, LiDAR scans reveal sprawling networks of roads, mounds, canals, and earthworks extending for hundreds of miles. A coordinated society capable of landscape engineering on a vast scale. What connects all six is the abruptness of their endings. They don't fade slowly. They vanish in geological instants. Floods, volcanic winters, sudden freezes, each erasing nearly everything. 5. The seventh era, where we stand now. If this interpretation is correct, we are not the first to stand at the height of development. We are merely the latest. 6 times the world has climbed toward complexity. 6 times it has been forced to begin again. And now, as modern humanity stands on the edge of unprecedented global change, the question becomes unavoidable. What ended those worlds? And why does the pattern appear to be returning? Earth doesn't change suddenly without warning. It offers signs, shifts in magnetic patterns, abrupt climate oscillations, rising oceans, weakening of long stable currents. These transitions mirror the markers that preceded earlier collapses, and they're happening again, not on the scale of centuries, but decades. Carbon dioxide levels exceed anything seen throughout known human history. Storms grow in frequency and ferocity. Ice sheets fracture at accelerated rates. Entire ecosystems shift in a single generation. Viewed in the context of long-forgotten cycles, these appear as the beginning of another great turning. Yet even as the world tilts toward instability, something else stirs. Rare genetic clusters carried by scattered populations, the inheritance of survivors from earlier cycles, are awakening. Studies reveal increased activity in metabolic pathways tied to endurance under extreme stress. It's as though the descendants of ancient survivors feel the cycle returning through instincts deeper than conscious thought. We possess something none of the earlier civilizations had: the ability to see the pattern, to look back across geological time, to examine remnants of earlier worlds, to understand that collapse is not random, but rhythmic. The eighth civilization could be the first to break the pattern, the first to anticipate the turning, the first to protect its knowledge rather than lose it. But for that to happen, humanity must confront its true timeline. It must understand that it stands atop the ruins of many worlds, inheriting both the triumphs and mistakes of those forgotten ages. So what do we actually know? That monumental architecture appears fully formed with no evolutionary period. That out-of-place artifacts exist in geological layers far older than any known human culture. That flood stories from disconnected civilizations describe the same catastrophe with identical details. That beneath the oceans lie drowned cities in perfect geometric arrangements, sitting exactly where ancient texts said they would be. That 6 civilizations appear to have risen and fallen before ours, each erased so completely that only fragments remain. Mainstream science dismisses this as coincidence and misinterpretation. But the pattern is too consistent, the evidence too widespread, the similarities too precise. What if everything we've been taught about human history is incomplete? What if civilization didn't begin 12,000 years ago, but has been rising and falling in cycles for hundreds of thousands of years? What if the pyramids, the megaliths, the impossible stonework aren't the achievements of primitive peoples, but remnants of knowledge passed down from civilizations that reached heights we can barely imagine? We are the 7th civilization, standing on the ruins of 6 worlds that came before. And if history is cyclical, if the pattern holds, then the question isn't whether another collapse is coming. The question is whether we'll recognize the signs in time. The cycle is returning. The evidence is everywhere. Climate shifts, magnetic anomalies, rising seas, the same markers that preceded earlier collapses. But we have something those earlier civilizations didn't: awareness. We can see the pattern. We can prepare. We can be the first civilization to survive the turning and break the cycle. Or we can ignore the warnings and become another silent layer in the earth, another whisper in myth, another lost world waiting to be rediscovered thousands of years from now. What do you think? Are we living in the 7th human era? Or is this all just coincidence? Drop your theory in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.